A chance for some heroics here from Marchie and the Zappers. Time winding down. Steps up. He is eluding the defender. Still moving on his feet. Somehow breaks free. Marchie, time has expired. One last chance. Dumps it off of the 15. Complete the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, diving and knocked out of play. That's how this ends for the Beasts with an epic hit out of play at the 5. The Beast defense holds.
Gosh, wow.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, and on this week's show, Taylor Heinicke signs a 2-year contract. We have the latest fan control football news. It was week 1 of the fan control football season. Also, my mock 2021 XFL schedule. We were supposed to kick off. We would have in a normal world if everything normally happened, but we know what happened. We would have kicked off. I know the date was different, but we would have kicked off this past weekend. So I threw together who I thought would have been the best optimized schedule for the XFL to kick off if there was a 2021 season. There's not. Have no fear. There's supposed to be a 2022 season, and they can just copy what I'm telling them to do as far as the schedule. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that as well. So if you want to get in touch with the show, email podcast at XFL News Hub. You know the drill, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. That really helps us. Plus, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now if you're watching it live. Like and subscribe and leave us a comment about what we're going to get into here in a second, which is my mock schedule for the XFL that they can just use. It's fine. You can use it. But instead, we got fan control football, and I wanted to kind of go over that. I did get a chance to watch some of the games. It was kind of clunky for me because I was trying to use my, because it's on Twitch, and I have a Roku, and I was trying to stream it using my Chromecast, and my Chromecast wasn't working, so I was like half listening to it, half kind of watching it. At the same time, we were doing another draft in our fantasy wrestling game. It was the first time I'd done a bunch of updates. The guys went through this. I wasn't part of this draft. The system kicked out an email to alert everybody that there was an hour before the draft. They went in. There were still some issues at the clock thing. I'll get into that later, but they were able to do it. So I was working on that, helping them through, and also kind of half watching fan-controlled football. So let's get into the results of the first week of the Fan Control Football League. First up, we have the Glaciers beating the Glacier Boys beating the Wild Aces 22-30. Congratulations to them. And it was hard to find stats of this game. And then, of course, we had the Zappers defeating the Beasts beating the Zappers 48-44. So congratulations on the first week. And my team is the Beasts because Miro is on that team. And you guys know I am a wrestling mark. You guys all know that about me. Schedule for next week. Have no fear. We got that for you. It's going to be the Beasts versus the Wild Aces. Same time, same bat channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on the 20th. And then you'll get the Zappers versus the Glaciers Boys. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed, it's just, I like alternate football. I'm always like an underdog thing. That's why I'm like a Dogecoin guy. Because of this like underdog. I didn't like WWE. I always liked WCW. I even liked Impact Wrestling, TNA Wrestling at the time, more than WWE. So I'm always rooting for these, and I'm rooting for these guys to get some game tape. So it's fun to watch. It's definitely different. It's kind of cool. I could definitely see this could potentially be successful at some point. I don't know if you're competing with the XFL with your schedule. Good luck with that. Could it be like a third tier, fourth tier kind of thing where guys play in the Fan Control Football League and make their way to the XFL or the CFL, something like that? I could definitely see that happening. But so it was fun. Check it out. It's on Twitch if you want to watch it. But you basically have to watch it on your phone or your computer. I think they had at some point 30,000 people watching it, which is good. I wonder if that's more than what Spring League got. That would be interesting to find out. Anyway, this week on the XFL news front, have no fear, we got some of that covered for you as well. First up, BattleHawks QB Taylor Heinicke. Congratulations to him. With his big playoff, he earns a 2-year, $8.75 million contract. Nice. Of course, it's incentive laden. And the funny thing about him is during the playoffs, he had the best QB passer rating against all the teams that became the eventual Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Heinicke had a 9.2. Breeze had a 48.8. I knew he was done. I had him on my fantasy team, and I got rid of him. Aaron Rodgers, 89.2, and then Pat Mahomes, 65.8. So congratulations to Taylor Heinicke on getting that contract. Not the guy that we would think to get this big contract, but hey, this is how things work. Also, speaking of another quarterback, Vipers QB Taylor Cornelius, he signs with the CFL's Edmonton team, whatever their name is, not sure yet, and he joins Jamie Elizondo as the head coach. So Elizondo coached him up, and they started looking really good towards the end of the Viper season. Now Elizondo is his head coach, and now he goes up north. So congratulations to Taylor Cornelius on signing with the CFL's Edmonton team, joining Jamie Elizondo. And Renegades Austin Walter, he signed a contract extension with the 49ers. He was with the Dallas Renegades. He was a practice squad guy, I think. Oh, yeah, in the beginning. And then he's been a special teamers guy for them. So congratulations to Austin Walters as well. That's it for the XFL news going on this week. It's still been quiet. I was joking to myself, and I think I might even do it just because I'm Mark Perry and that I just do what I got to do. But we're so light on news. I thought about maybe interviewing my puppy, Finn. Yes, we got a puppy just like everybody else did during this thing that's going on where we're all stuck at home, and he's been quite the blessing. And he sometimes has sit while I'm doing this podcast, scratching at me, even licking my feet sometimes to get my attention, because that's what puppies do. And yes, he's a very cool dog. He's a Boston Terrier, so he might be the big interview next week, because that's how thin we have with the content going on right now. But hey, I'm in long game. I'm a Dogecoin guy, so I'm in the long game. It's just, hey, we've been doing this since 2018 or something like that, and hey, what's another year, right? But speaking of another year, I was thinking about, man, this weekend would have been kickoff for the XFL season. And how would I, if I'm in charge, again, I want to end any speculation right now. No one has contacted me about being the CFO of the XFL. I would take the call. I would rather do podcasts and write code and get Dogecoin, and rather than that job seems to be a little bit of high pressure. But in case you were wondering if I was in the running for that, or anybody else on the XFL News Hub staff, I mean, maybe there is. Maybe Mike Mitchell is up for that position, but I would assume not. So, but also, we know that they like to listen to our show. So I thought I'm going to give you what I think the schedule should be for the XFL if they were to have kicked off in the 2021 season, but maybe they can use this in 2022. So this is just my little favor for the XFL here. So here's my schedule. This is what I would do if I were the schedule maker for the XFL. So first up is I would have the Houston Roughnecks take on the Tampa Bay Vipers. That would be game 1 on Saturday. If we continue to do the same thing, Saturday, 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, the world champions need to kind of kick off the season. They were the undefeated team. They have the high-powered offense. Tampa Bay, especially if Tampa Bay gets a coach like if Trestman is out, and Steve Spurrier is in, which, again, that is 100% speculation, but we know Spurrier is into it. And we also know about his relationship with Dallas Renegades head coach, so Bob Stoops. So that was one. I would have that matchup, regardless if Spurrier was in Tampa Bay or not. That would be game 1, because you champs, your best team, have got to kind of do that. Game 2, Saturday night. Put the 2 biggest markets on a Saturday night. LA versus New York. And I would have it in LA versus New York because of the weather, etc. But I would have them go cross country. Remember, DC started the season against Seattle. So it was not division rivals in the beginning of the season. It just wasn't that way. And now you get LA and New York, two big markets. Let them go at it on, at 8 o'clock at night. And let's see how that kind of rolls. That's what I would do with the second game on the Sunday slate. Of course, I would go DC versus Dallas Renegades in DC because we're just trying to mix it up a little bit. DC had a great fan base, and we got a good town for basically would probably sell out the game. So, and then you get Dallas. Hopefully Bob Stoops comes back. So you got Stoops in DC. Dallas and the DC Dallas Cowboys, Washington football team rivalry going on. So I think that would be a good matchup there in DC. And then end it prime time on Sunday, because that is going to be potentially your biggest audience, Sunday night football type thing. And you got to do St. Louis versus Seattle. St. Louis has to have that first one. I was thinking about having St. Louis be the first game, but I think I might close out with St. Louis as the first, as the Sunday night game, because St. Louis would be rocking and that place would be packed. However I could maximize the crowd in St. Louis is what I would do. And then you take on Seattle. Seattle, I think, has the second biggest fan base able to because of their stadium. I would hold Seattle potentially. I would move Seattle to a week 2 home game so that basically you're getting the bump of the fan base. So you can say, hey, our opening weekend, we had X amount of fans. Week 2, you have Seattle baked in there as a potential big fan base too, because people care about numbers. Then you have St. Louis away week 2, then have St. Louis come back to week 3. So at least you get 3 straight weeks of some decent numbers, especially if you look at, maybe going back to New York in week 2, potentially to bring in some numbers. Then you have Dallas at home, potentially bring numbers with Tampa Bay. We know how that now that they won a Super Bowl, maybe they'll change. But Tampa Bay, if you got a guy like Spurrier in there, just to really kind of bring those numbers. So I thought it'd be just kind of a little fun exercise. See what you guys think. So I got if there was to be an XFL season that kicked off in 2021 or when it kicks off in 2022, I would have Houston versus Tampa Bay as week 1. LA Wildcats versus New York Guardians in week 2, or the second game of Saturday. Then Sunday, I'd have DC versus Dallas, even though I'd prefer to have a DC Defenders game on Saturday. And then you get the St. Louis BattleHawks versus Seattle. I'm fine with even maybe potentially moving Seattle into that first week as well if you wanted to maximize those numbers. But that's how I would do it. And I would make that schedule, and I would play, again, who knows, you got events going on or whatever, but I would really try to focus on how can I maximize the amount of fans at games to show people, because it's one thing when, the media will sit there and poo-poo, oh, their attendance is down, so therefore blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, if you can keep that attendance number strong by playing with the schedule, you get into week 5 and you're like, oh, well, and, in Seattle and St. Louis opens up, an additional 10,000 seats. I mean, the media will say, yeah, the XFL drew well. Oh, they'll put it in there. Oh, but they, but they only, Seattle, St. Louis, went to blah, blah, blah. But people aren't going to look at that. They'll look at the big number and be like, wow, hey, there's a lot of fans coming to these games and it's starting to grow. Let's check it out. So that's my thing. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. I'd be curious to hear what you think of the schedule, how you would switch things around. Leaving me a message, podcast at XFL News Hub if you think about that too as well. That was just kind of my fun little exercise this week. We're going to get into XFL Markcast, quick recap. Then we'll get into your social media stuff right after this, my friends. Stay tuned.
Here's what you missed on the XFL Markcast.
Big news, I would say lead story is I keep, anytime I think about this, I think about like the Return of the King, like it's Rudy, it's our king, it is Taylor Heinicke. Officially has signed, I saw pen to paper inked on Instagram. He signed a 2-year deal with the Washington football team.
That means they want to try to see if you can contend for the starter job. That's what it means to me.
No, it doesn't. If you, So for 2021, he gets $1 million, $500,000 guaranteed. Not too bad of a day. I think he bought dinner for his family last night, is what I heard. And then it's a bunch of game day, so he can get up to $31,250 per game. If they win, they win the regular season. The team makes the playoffs. If they wins the playoffs, so there's all these incentives built in. He gets $1 million signing bonus. Not too shabby there. So it's not like, I would take any contract with the Washington football team. But it's not, so just to put that in context, it very much is a backup quarterback contract. The other big news, and I guess we should have plugged this at the beginning of the show. Obviously, we have Quentin Flowers, former XFL Tampa Bay Vipers QB, and he's with this Fan Control Football now. He's coming up on the show. We talked with him after practice the other day. His teammate, Taylor Cornelius, who was one of the quarterbacks with the Vipers, signed up in the Canadian Football League, and he's up there with, remember we talked last week about the Vipers coach that got signed up there? Jamie Elizondo. So Cornelius is joining Jamie up in the CFL. So it's all connected. So there you go.
I love it at the end of the day, because you have to understand, and like I always tell people, I don't use it, to get publicity or anything. I don't care about the fame. I don't care about this type of stuff. But the things that I've been through, and I'm still not giving up, like a lot of people would have been gave up. A lot of people would have stopped. A lot of people would have said, oh, I can't take this no more. But at the end of the day, what you going to leave your legacy as? That's how I look at it.
Of course, you can find XFL Markcast on XFL News Hub and wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube.
What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today. All right, let's get into your social media stuff. First, The Rock talks about his XFL vision with Cigar Aficionado. He had a quick little tidbit of what he thought, bringing back the XFL. And Jerry says he needs to make it clear that the XFL is a standalone spring league and not a minor league or feeder league for the NFL. We understand that, us XFL fans, but I think sometimes people get confused by it. Nahir says, it's the first mistake every league makes. If you're spending millions of dollars to start this, don't tell potential fans it's a subpar product. He won't. Scouts and coaches and NFL teams would like to turn on the TV to see prospects. Javier says, whatever he's got in mind, planning for the XFL in the future, I bet it's going to be so great. Yes, I hope that is true as well. Thanks for the messages there. Zach, talking about last week's podcast, he says, I think it's 100% the lawsuits that have been the reason we have not heard anything from the XFL yet. I'm beginning to wonder if Vince McMahon made the logos the way they were and then sold the league on purpose, knowing that these things were coming and not wanting to deal with them himself. I'm starting to wonder, the more and more goes by, if the new ownership group even has an idea what they want to do. P.S. I'm Passenger Escobar on YouTube. Okay. Well, Zach, thanks for the email. A little conspiracy theory going on there. A little potential, maybe a little tinfoil hat kind of thing going on there. But I could see that. I don't think Vince McMahon really purposely knew or thought that this was going to be a problem long term. We'll see where this all kind of plays out, but I'm not too concerned about that. I got my glasses here, by the way. That's what I'm doing with my hands on the video, is cleaning my glasses because I stare at a computer all the time. And that's what happens to your vision, I guess. On to the YouTubes. Let's check out our friends on YouTube. Let's see here. First, Van Hurst says, I hope you enjoyed the hats. I hope that to see you in a game in 2022. Well, thank you very much. Talking about our live show. I reposted our live show that we did with Connor Folk, which was a year ago at that time. I mean, the audio was terrible, but that's when I met some of the guys from the XFL Markcast. Who would have known a year later that Reed and the crew would be kind of hanging out, being part of our crew. And all it took was a free hat. That's it. That is it. So, yes, I can't wait to hang. I cannot wait. Jab me twice with this thing. It's in my system. I run. I'm training for a half marathon, even though they probably won't happen. I don't care. I've always been into fitness. I will eat my vitamins, say my prayers, eat my vitamins, get jabbed twice with the needle, and I'm ready to rock and roll and hang out with all you guys. And I cannot wait to go on tour and hit every town. I'm going crazy once this whole thing is over. I don't know about you. And I'm feeling it. We're getting there. We're getting there, my friends. Just hold on tight. But yeah, totally hang out. Darren says, I can't wait for the return of the XFL 3.8. And I hope in the next other year they put in 2 new teams in Las Vegas, Kansas City, and San Antonio. I don't think, maybe in a couple years. We'll see about that. Saying keep up the great work. Appreciate that. Darren also says, I hope the Houston Roughnecks keep their logos for the rest of the new season and more. I agree with that. I hope they do as well. Isaiah said, I just realized we have a lot of startup leagues, XFL, FCF, Major League Football, and Freedom Football League. I haven't heard anything about the Freedom Football League. Major League Football League, whatever it is, they were supposed to do something in spring that they had said. Nothing. I hadn't heard anything about that. What's going on there? Really, it's just fan control is the only thing, and probably a potential another spring league action. Bunch of numbers says no video game, no chance. Talking about Danny Garcia's deal. I must have talked about it at some point. Yes, video game would be good. Bunch of slashes in M. I've never seen that before. Man, I wish they put an XFL team in Oakland, San Jose, or Sacramento. Oakland has an empty stadium. San Jose has an empty stadium. Oh, possible earthquakes. Oh, and they can use the possible earthquakes MLS stadium in Sacramento. They could possibly use Sac Republic FC soccer field. I can only wish. I don't have a problem with them moving out of LA and going to some other venue in California. Like I've said, LA is not the greatest sports market per se, in my opinion, as to compare to other places out there. I guess I understand it's a big TV market. Well, we'll have to find out about that. Paladin, our buddy Paladin, said the Super Bowl should have been called the Referee Bowl. I had an article pop up from Washington Post saying that the lead referee had a beef with the Chiefs. Knowing the Post, I'd advise caution looking into that article. Interesting. Urban delinquent. That's not very nice. Urban delinquent. Hopefully you're a very nice young man or young lady, whoever you are. XFL should hire me for Roughnecks logo. Okay, urban delinquent. He's on board. Kane Man says, NFL, leave the XFL alone. By the way, you're the no fun league. Heard that one before, yeah. Aldertude says, talking about the Blood Bowl is a bit more. It's based on a tabletop war game franchise called Warhammer. It's a futuristic counterpoint to Warhammer 4000. Is the flagship product for Games Workshop, the company that makes both. In Warhammer and Warhammer 40K, you command an army of miniatures against other players' armies. And Combat is done through the rolling of dice, both for hit chance and damage. Blood Bowl takes the warfare of Warhammer and compacts it into football, which effectively makes it a parity game. It's a guarantee that at some point the dice will fail you, which can result in some silliest moments during any given game, e.g. one of your players falls down while running with the ball and knocks himself out, which immediately ends your turn as the ball drops loose on the field. Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun to play. I have to get some of those figures and put them up on my little shelf behind me. That would be kind of cool too. But cool, thanks for the explanation for us. Joe Esquivel says, XFL, how about a team in San Antonio, Texas? You got 2 teams, my friend. You're not getting any more. AB, this chick looks like she's got, I don't know what he's talking about there. Okay. And Rick says, what a great channel. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you very much, Rick's mail. We appreciate that. 2, let's go to the Twitter, shall we? On the Twitter, Messiah the Prolific, Prolific Radio, says, during season hibernation, why aren't the XFL broadcasting programs like XFL Hard Knocks or XFL Mic'd Up or XFL Top 10 something for the fans as they load up for 2022? Isn't Danny and producer The Rock could narrate or present shows like Steve Sable? I agree. I just think they're just waiting, saving money at this point to not really do anything. I mean, are you really going to want to put something out on YouTube? Just open the floodgates and let's go. I understand it's February, and this is where my one concern is that, I mean, and we just had Redbird Capital buy something else or now partner in with something else. You got the funds. I understand you don't want to spend it. You're going to drop it all at once. I'm sure there's things going on behind the scenes. But yeah, I mean, when are you going to open up something to get fans excited? We're keeping the light on. And I'm getting a little concerned because, frankly, I'm going to interview my dog next week because we really don't have anything to talk about. That's right. But Finn is cool. He doesn't have much to say because he's a dog. But okay, on to the other tweets. Everything_XFL says, first thoughts on FCF. Great idea, but I want to see more input into the game. I'm not here to watch owners' interviews over the game. Tell me about some of these players competing and please call the action. I agree with you there. I was watching it too. I think it was Richard Sherman and I forget the other guy's name, Beast Mode. It'll come to me. And they were kind of just talking, and it was fine for a little while, but I'm kind of with you on that, where I was kind of like, okay, like, I agree. Talk about the players, and let's kind of go on that. XFL Maniac says, I do like the enthusiasm and effort of the players. I do think the booth needs a lot of polish. Seems like one pro in there and just a bunch of garbled noise. I feel like the owners are nothing more than public faces. Looks fun so far for players, and hell, it's football to watch. Agree with you there. He also says some of the rules given certain position groups is optimized skill, i.e. the linemen as groups, backup QBs getting time every third series. The coaches being league coaches is a nice wrinkle too. Very streamlined when money is tight, I'm sure. That's cool there. Richard, for real. Checking in, talking about the Rocks interview, says that's a good interview, but when are we going to get some XFL news like workouts, drafts, training camps, coachings? It's about time. I agree, Richard. For real. It's about time. Give us something to do. XFL Mark says, catching up on this week's XFL News Hub Week in Review, and glad to hear Mark is all about the Doge. Dogecoin rise, Dogecoin army, Dogecoin to the moon. Yes. Now, I talked about this last week, is what I am doing in the fantasy wrestling application that will be coming to the XFL fantasy once probably in the fall, late summer. I'll do something, especially when the draft is in place, but I'd like to have it before the XFL draft. As I'm implementing Dogecoin. So if you win a week, and it's live now, so if you want to play fantasy.pro wrestling news hub, you can play. If you win your fantasy week, you get a Dogecoin. And then we're going to have pay-per-view pick'em game, same kind of deal, is that for everyone you get right, you get a Dogecoin. We'll do similar things with XFL. So you'll be able to acquire Dogecoin, whether it's worth, well, I mean, if it's worth $1 a year, 2 years from now, that's a different story. If it's worth, a couple cents, 10 cents here, 50 cents even, I would definitely consider continue to do that. It'll just be fun. And then just another incentive to play. We just had our first draft that didn't involve me. Things worked well. The only thing that I had to deal with was the timer. Is when I tested the application, it was fine. It was count down every second. When there was 4 people doing the live draft, it was actually counting down every 4 seconds. So I have to figure out a way around that problem. That's going to require me to some super nerd time to figure out how, first of all, to test that and then figure out a way around it, which caused a couple other issues. Somebody got skipped in the draft, so they had a blank draft player. And but other than that, that was the only, and that was my biggest fear, was the server load and how to do the timer. So I had something that works if it's one person, but if it doesn't, if it's not other people, I've found other issues that we ran into. We did a check of all the lineups, and for some reason, people were missing. Like, you're supposed to have 12 wrestlers on your lineup, and some people had 10 or 11. And I'm like, there's nothing where you can just drop a player and not pick up somebody. I mean, waiver wire is a flip. So I'm wondering if maybe, some people went inactive, like Brody Lee, who had unfortunately passed away, that maybe they were on their roster. So I have to kind of figure out those things. But this is why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, because we're gonna figure it all out on that end, so that the game is going to be at least a year old by the time you guys use it for XFL Fantasy. So that's the whole point. And we integrated Dogecoin, which will add another element of fun as well. Matthew Shapiro says, a year ago, talking about February 8th, XFL kicked off and drew 3.3 million TV viewers. Can't wait for the 2022 kickoff. We agree with you. It's me, Pocono Pete, says, if we ever hear any news about it, the longer they stay silent, the less confidence it creates. Hey, man. Preaching to the choir. I'm with you on that. But we've heard that they're going to have big announcements, that we just need to sit tight. We've talked about that June time frame. So we got February coming to the, we're middle of February. We probably won't get anything. Now you're talking March. You're going to do anything during March Madness into April, May? You're going to wait till June to drop everything? I don't know. But a lot of things need to be worked on, per se, like TV deal and what kind of budget you're going to have and what you're going to get from your TV deal, etc. But we all know Danny and The Rock are all in, and Redbird Capital is all in when it comes to the XFL. So we'll just continue to keep the lights on and see what happens next. On to our email. First up, let's see. We got Jared says, are you making an XFL fantasy football website or page? I can donate 2 XFL hats to prizes. All right. Jared checking in. But yes, we are doing XFL Fantasy, and we'll definitely take some things. I think it would be fun to maybe give away some merch to maybe, I don't know, when people sign up or something like that. Like, all right, when you sign up, I mean, I really want to do fantasy football a little bit different, because that's what the XFL is about. Not like your typical ESPN, which I always thought theirs was terrible. Yahoo has been kind of my favorite. And we did CBS Sportsline. You had to pay for it. Get out of here. This is free. I would love to do some other things differently to enhance the experience somehow. So I'm all ears. If we want to go and give away some prizes for people that, hey, you sign up, you're entered to win a prize or a weekly prize for the top score. I wouldn't do a prize for the worst score. Maybe we would make fun of you if you had the worst score. Maybe that would motivate you to do a little bit better. Maybe we could do that. Could you imagine? Everybody's like, oh, here's the best score. And here's the worst players in XFL Fantasy. Here's their address and phone number and emails, and you go find them. I wouldn't have that kind of information. But I do like the idea about giving out prizes. That's a good one. We got one other email. Let's see here. Devontae says, I play semi-pro football. I was wondering how I can get a tryout with the XXL team. I think he meant XFL team. There is nothing going on right now. We assume that there'll be some kind of tryout, especially we got a lot of guys are going over to the CFL, and we will be covering that soon, signing with CFL teams that are now out of the XFL pool. So they're really going to need to have some kind of tryout. You need an agent, number one. Don't even bother asking about a tryout. If you don't have an agent, then you're not going to get an invite. Like, that's kind of how it worked before. But there will be something, but it's not going to be, unless The Rock and Danny Garcia, Jeffrey Pollock decide, hey, let's do something different and open tryouts. But I just don't see it. That seems to kind of be a big pain if they were to do that. So thanks for all checking in this week on the XFL Week in Review podcast. And I'm not joking about interviewing my dog. I will do it. Oh, there's my phone going off. I'm just recording this live. But hey, if we got some more information, we'll pass it on to you. But there's really nothing going on as we speak. So tell me what you think about my schedule. You agree, disagree, XFL, just email podcast@xflnewshub.com with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692, extension 3. Remember to do that, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We will read it on the show. And remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate that. That channel has actually been growing pretty nicely, so we appreciate that as well. Remember, you can download our apps, leave us you can find us anywhere, xflnewshub.com/xfl-podcast. Also join us on the Discord. And yeah, some people might be like, oh, I can't believe he's actually going to interview his dog. What a joke that guy is. They're not serious journalists like we are. Get out of here. This is fun. This is all supposed to be fun. Who cares? We make the rules. That's how it works. That's how XFL works. That's how Dogecoin works. You relax. Yeah, no. You know why? Because I don't take this seriously. Because this is fun. If I didn't do it, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. Ask me about WWE when that was pissed me off watching it constantly. And I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? XFL is fun. We're having fun. Don't care what you think about kneeling or all this other crap. It's just football and it's fun. We don't care. That's what this is all about. And that's why we are still talking about the XFL, because what little glimpse we had of the XFL, we all loved it. And we're all excited for it to come back. And hey, I was thinking this too. If Dogecoin goes to the moon, and imagine this happen, and somehow The Rock and Danny Garcia couldn't get it going, the Doge community could just buy the XFL. And we could run the XFL ourselves. What do you think of that? If Dogecoin went to, like Bitcoin, and each one is worth, what is it now? Almost $50,000 potentially, one Bitcoin. Did you know, by the way? I'll tell you a little something secret at the end of the show. I did own a Bitcoin once. I bought it for $300. No, $250. I think it was like $200. It was like $200 I bought a Bitcoin. And I sold it because I needed the money at $3,000. And I was pissed at the time because a couple months later, it went up to $8,000. And now I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, I was into, I had a mining rig, mining Dogecoin, mining Bitcoin. I was all into that stuff. So, hey, maybe if Dogecoin goes to the moon and things don't go, hey, maybe we'll buy the AAF and the XFL. What do you think of that? And then we'll bring it back. And then I'll be like, hey, man, here's the bank account and here's how much money is in it. And let's do it. That's option 3. That's 100% not going to happen. But anything is possible. We've had a thing that shut down the world. I'm expecting the XFL is going to kick off, and then in week 4, we're going to be like, hey, we have one more week. We're going to tie what we did 2 years ago. And space aliens are going to come and cancel things. And then aliens are going to want to be part of the league, and then there's going to be controversies because aliens have superpowers, but they're pretty tiny when you watch the other things. And it's going to be a whole thing, and they're going to cancel the season because space aliens comes. That's what's going to happen in 2022. You heard it here first. Either that or Dogecoin community is going to buy the XFL and the AAF and the CFL, and we're going to have one super league. What do you think of that? All right, my friends. Thanks for checking in. We're always having a good time with y'all. We appreciate you guys watching and listening, and just hang tight. That's all we can do at this point. And we're going to keep you up to date on the littlest of things because eventually we were patient in 2018. We'll have to be patient again in 2021. That's it for me, folks. Stay safe out there. God bless. I love all you guys. I really appreciate you guys checking in. We're just having fun. All right, that's it for me, folks, and I will see you all later.